fourth grade. It's Mrs. Wright. Excited to come to you today for chapter 18 with Homer P. Figg. Maybe you noticed in the background I put up a little dry erase board trying to get my office set up to do a little more videoing and instruction with you guys, hopefully coming up after break. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The name of this chapter is The Smell of Pigs. And so I brought with me my favorite pig. His name's Hambone, and he travels with us in the car a lot. So he's going to listen in today because he's kind of a part of this. So here goes nothing. What happened is Miss Nibley kissed Mr. Willow, and he kissed her back. And now he thinks he's obliged to marry her as a matter of honor. I wouldn't expect you to understand such a thing, he said loftily, his eyes shining like little brown pebbles. What would an orphan boy know about honor? Orphan boy? That's what Frank Nibley called me. And now he's got Mr. Willow saying it too. Come to think of it, the clergyman hasn't used his own words since he come under the spell of Kate the Beautiful. It's like in the storybooks, where the princess kisses the frog and it turns into a prince, except Mr. Willow has turned into something even dumber than a frog. More like a skinny worm about to be breakfast for a really smart robin. There is no use talking because he only hears what he wants to hear. But that doesn't stop me from speaking my mind on the subject. You think Mr. Brewster would approve? I asked him, pacing about the cabin. He sends you to help me, and you get married instead? Have you seen the way her brother looks at your wallet? Like a fox deciding which chicken to eat, and that's how he looks. Darling Kate always wanted to be a minister's wife, he said dreamily. It was love at first sight. It was love at first sight, all right. They saw you coming a mile away, said to each other, that looks like a dumb sack of rocks. Let's see if we can get in his pockets. Mr. Willow don't put his fingers in his ears, but he might as well for all the good it's doing. We'll settle in New York City, close to her family, he said, and I shall be the pastor of Park Avenue. Park Avenue is where the rich folks live, Mr. Willow. Even I've heard of that. Indeed, for your information, the Nibleys are very wealthy. Dear Frank handles all the finances. Dear Frank wants to handle our finances, Mr. Willow. You can't let him take the money. We need to get Harold back. He ignores me and keeps right on talking his dreamy talk about getting married sooner, and the sooner the better. I will cable Mr. Brewster from New York and inform him of the happy news, he said, looking off into the distance as if spotting a lovely rainbow. He will give me his blessings, I'm sure. Jebediah has been helpful and generous, but the Nibleys are, well, they're the Nibleys. I never heard of the Nibley family, but it turns out Mr. Willow knows that they're high up in New York society, and it comes to me that it isn't only her beautiful self he loves, but the name attached. It makes me think maybe I'm wrong somehow, because what would a family like that want with a skinny farm boy in a frayed jacket, except if it really is true love? We are soulmates, he mutters to himself. Fate brought us together. Dear Kate has been waiting for me all her life. She knew it the moment that she looked into my eyes. That does it. It can't be true love. Mr. Willow has eyes like a sick kitten. You might love a sick kitten, but you don't marry it. You keep it as a pet. I've got an idea, I tell him, tugging at his sleeve. Give me the money. I'll keep it safe until we get to New York. Mr. Willow looks at me like I've crawled out from under a rock. Trust the money to a poor orphan boy, he asks, focusing on me like it just came to his attention. Certainly not. And for that matter, how do I even know you even have a brother? Has anyone even seen this so-called brother? Maybe you've been scheming all along to defraud Mr. Brewster. Anything is possible with an orphan boy. That shuts my mouth. Here I've been feeling sorry for poor Mr. Willow, that he's been made a fool of, and all along he's never trusted me. Or maybe it's an idea Frank Nibley put in his empty head. Doesn't matter how it got there. What scares me is that other folks will believe it too. Miss Nibley pretends to be nice about it, but makes it clear that the Orphan boy is not invited to the society wedding. Poor boy, you have an attitude of a ruffian, she said, sniffling daintily. I'm sure it's not your fault, considering your upbringing, but there it is. We can't have ruffians. Ruffians will not be allowed. Ruffians will not be tolerated. So I'm not just an orphan boy, which is bad enough. I'm a ruffian orphan boy that can't be invited to weddings or allowed to stay in the cabin when weddings are being planned. Frank calls in the steward, the one with the funny little hat and the ice-chipped eyes, and tells him to remove me from the premises. This boy will be happier in steerage, Frank says, among his own kind. The steward grabs a hold of my collar. I'll tell the captain, I shout, threatening to expose their evil plan. I'll tell him how you tricked Mr. Willow and that you're both liars. Kate sighs and rolls her eyes. What the captain may or may not think is no concern of ours. We have no need for the captain. My brother is a duly licensed justice of the peace. He shall marry us. Isn't that right, Frank? Frank smiles and consults his pocket watch. The hour is upon us, Mr. Willow. Are you ready to tie the knot? I saw a man in Pine Swamp once who'd been kicked in the head by a horse and nearly died. He had a look about him, like he could see all the way to heaven and didn't care about the world no more. That's how Mr. Willow looks when he takes Kate's hand. You're making a terrible mistake, but the sneering steward clamps a hand across my mouth and yanks me out of the cabin and shuts the door behind us. Do you want to live? The steward hisses, trotting me along the passageway. If you want to live, you'll shut your filthy little mouth. That's when I bite him on the hand as hard as I can. The steward yelps and drops me, and when I'm running full steam for the exit. Rotten brat, he shrieks, reaching out to grab me. I'd have gotten away for sure, except for the slippery deck. I'm coming around the corner, heading for the door to the deck, when I hit a waxy spot and crash head first into an iron pipe. That's the last thing I remember. The pipe coming at me like a big gray bullet. And then nothing but darkness and the smell of pigs. So, duped again. Another adventure about to take place because something's happening with pigs. And Hambone will have to come back because the next chapter is also about pigs. So this will probably be my last reading for a little while because we're going on spring break. So I know that we really can't go anywhere. No vacations. We're just kind of home. But I hope you enjoy your time at home with your family. And I hope that you read some books. And I hope that you do something fun, build something, create something, make a movie, an iMovie. Ooh, that would be good. Go on a hike, enjoy some time, and hopefully we will be back together soon. I miss you all, and I love ya, and have a great break. Bye.